This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up over here? Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle, TGI Sports Talk, Sunday, Stream of Consciousness. How are you? A couple seconds late as I was trying to jump off the Mac and Jack show this morning, my little spot there at 8 o'clock. Hope you guys are all doing well this morning. It's a bit more like November weather here in upstate New York. 40-some degrees, going to be in the 30s, low 30s tonight, 20s. Snow this week, at least not a lot, but we will get some flurries. So things are becoming much more November-like here. And welcome to, listen, I want to say real quick, too, because I said this on my Friday shows to all our vets. This past Friday was Veterans Day. I won't say Happy Veterans Day because I think that's kind of weird, but I want to thank all the vets in our audience and around the country for their service and sacrifices for this great country. Welcome to everybody on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter this morning. We'll be on Roku at noon. And we got a bunch to talk about. We'll start with college football today and go through some of the top 25 scores and look at what the probably 8 teams, I guess, probably with any kind of chance to get to the playoff now. We've had some teams lock up spots in their conference championships. We had a couple teams take themselves out of the running yesterday in Oregon, UCLA, and Mississippi, who had an outside shot. They're all done. We'll talk also about some of the New York Six Super Bowl implications for the Group of 5 teams. That took a big turn yesterday with UCF beating Tulane, but still a couple other teams alive there. We'll get into the NFL, look through the standings, go around the league, look at today's games and some injury issues. And then Major League Baseball, we'll just take a run around the league. We'll look at some of the top free agents, some of a couple of signings so far, and we'll go from there. Good morning, Alan. Alan, by the way, has his own new show on Let's Talk Sports, Dan Harris's network, which there's a lot of great shows there too. Listen, we're on Northeast Streaming Sports, but we do share some content with Let's Talk Sports, obviously, and they have some great shows over there as well. So catch Alan's show out, the Cowboy preview show that aired yesterday. I'm sure you can catch it on YouTube, and it'll be on Let's Talk Sports, I think, on Facebook and maybe Roku. I don't know all that, Alan. You can share that if you want. And I don't know what else Alan will be doing, whether he'll do a recap show on the Cowboys as well. And we all know that Alan's a bit biased when it comes to the Cowboys, as we had this conversation Friday during my when I was doing the Let's Talk New York Sports show without Dan, doing it solo, and we had a little discussion about Judon against Parsons. And I feel like he's just dismissing Matthew Judon. You got to watch this guy play. I will take nothing away from Micah Parsons, great player, but Matthew Judon has been at least as good this year. And again, I'll freely admit I have not seen every down that Parsons has played like I have Matthew Judon. Every down, and the guy has an impact nearly every play on defense. All right. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. And maybe Mark Mancini will be with us in the 10 o'clock hour. I haven't heard from him, so I don't really know. So anyway, let's jump into college football yesterday. Some big games, guys. We still got some music playing, hey? Let's see if I can get rid of that for now. There we go. All right. We'll look at this. I want to look at some of the teams that still have a shot, too, as we go through this. And we'll talk about some of the implications of the games yesterday. USC, this was Friday night. USC beats Colorado 55-17. USC, one of the teams still alive in this college football race, the only one from the Pac-12 Pac-12, as both Oregon and UCLA lose yesterday to just destroy any chance they have. Also, probably those two losses will hurt USC because they still got to play UCLA, and they could match up with Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, and they've been playing great football, but these two losses will hurt USC's chances. Just winning will probably not be enough for USC, depending on what happens above them. We'll talk more about that as we go along. Notre Dame beats Navy in a very close game. Navy, not the last few years has not been as good as it normally has been. And they played this game very, very close. And it's good to see. I wasn't necessarily rooting for Navy, but I wanted them to put in a showing yesterday. Notre Dame's rebounded nicely, kids. They're 7-3. And after a horrendous start to the season, playing pretty good football. They returned to the top 25, and I think I'm trying to get to your comments, and we'll go from there. I think I'll wait. I'll get to your comments. I'm going to go through these scores real quick, the top 25 scores, and then we'll get to your comments. Georgia rolls over Mississippi State. Mississippi State made this a game for about a half, but Stetson Bennett, good again. Man, this kid, for a walk-on, he's played well. I don't think we're going to see him on the next level, but nice game for him. And McConkey, Phil McConkey's son, goes 5 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown as well. Ohio State rolls over Indiana. Some of these teams need to have some style points here coming out, especially Tennessee, which we'll talk about in a second. Michigan rolls 34-3. Michigan 10-0 for the first time since 2006. Big showdown coming up pretty soon here. Oklahoma. Where the hell did that come from, Alan? Stop getting in my head. Ohio State and Michigan. The winner definitely going to be in, assuming they don't go and blow the Big Ten championship game, which is very unlikely, definitely will be in the playoff. TCU handled Texas yesterday, 17-10. I thought this would be a shootout. Then for a while, I didn't think anybody was going to score in this game. So TCU, this was a place I thought they might stumble. TCU runs the table they're in. TCU loses a game, they're going to have a very tough time, I think, getting in, because you're going to have a comparison come up with Tennessee, who rolled yesterday 66-24 over Missouri, who Georgia struggled with earlier this year. As we mentioned earlier, Oregon loses to number 25 Washington yesterday at home, 37-34. Washington would have been a good bet yesterday, getting double digits. They get to 8-2, 5-2 in the Pac-10 or Pac-12. Not sure exactly yet. We'll look at the conferences. We'll talk about some of the ones that are wrapped up, like the SEC. LSU wins 13-10 in a hard-fought battle over Arkansas. They have wrapped up that division in the SEC, and I think Georgia, LSU is now a lock. LSU wins this SEC with 2 losses. They're likely going to get into the playoff. They cannot get in without winning the championship, though. No way they're taking a 3-loss team. Ole Miss had Alabama on the ropes yesterday, could not win. They had the ball at the end. They also had the ball at the end of the game inside the 10-yard line, could not get in the end zone. They lose 30-24. Clemson trying to stay alive. A lot of people liked Louisville yesterday to end Clemson's long home winning streak. Didn't happen. I don't know why. Clemson bounces back here nicely. DJ Iwaguli, I tried. I never get it. He goes 19 for 27, 185 yards and 1 touchdown. Still not great numbers, but he did still manage to hold on to his job. Arizona stuns UCLA yesterday at home, 34-28. Horrible loss for UCLA here, and it's going to cost them big time. Utah trying to stay alive, 6-1 in the Pac-12. They can still get to that championship game, 42-7 over Stanford. Penn State rolls over Maryland, 30-0. Carolina trying to stay relevant in this conversation. If they win the ACC, they'll put themselves at least in the conversation. Unlikely. this team would have a chance, though. 36-34 in a really fun game last night against Wake Forest. Wake Forest continues to slide. Boston College upsets North Carolina State last night. UCF put themselves in a driver's seat, which we'll talk about a little bit for the New Year's Day 6 bowl games. They'll get that. They're in play to get that top group of 5 spot. Right now it's UCF. Tulane still with a chance, could play UCF in the championship game of the AAC. Cincinnati would still be alive there. And possibly Coastal Carolina may be alive. They managed to win yesterday, even with their quarterback McCall, who's going to be out 3 or 4 weeks. They beat Southern Miss yesterday. Kansas State rolls 31-3 over Baylor. These teams in the Big 12, it's impossible to know who's going to be playing well week to week. Purdue beats Illinois. Illinois had played well to the last couple of weeks. They had control of that Big 10 West, but they could be losing control of it now. We'll take a look at that in a second. Florida State just rolls over Syracuse 38-3. Syracuse, after a 6-0 start, has now lost 4 straight. They're bowl eligible, but it's been a bad month for Syracuse. And Vanderbilt ends a 26-game losing streak in the SEC. And shocks, I'll say shocks, Kentucky 24-21. Kentucky's really disappointed for me this year. They're 3-4 now in the SEC. I thought they could challenge. If Georgia were to step back, they could challenge for that division. Did not happen. A couple other notable scores I'll talk about real quick, and then I'll get to your comments, I promise. UConn wins yesterday. Who did they play? Jeez. I don't even know who the heck they beat. I didn't jot it down. I know they played somebody and shocked. I don't even know what conference they play anymore. I don't think they do play in a conference, do they? Who did they beat? By the way, bowl eligible. They've got 6 wins now. UConn does. I can't find who they played. Damn it. Alan, you're my guy. There he is. Played Liberty. Liberty, who just had beaten Arkansas the week before. Hugh Freeze signs a huge contract. Liberty rolling along. Probably they had jumped into the AP poll. I don't think they made it into the college football poll. This is a good win at home for UConn. 6-5 and bowl eligible. I understand this isn't an elite program, but Jim Moore has done a great job there, considering where they're coming from in his first year there. I just can't read my writing for the rest of this stuff. Oklahoma loses yesterday, 23-20 to West Virginia. Not a good. They're still not bowl eligible, I don't believe. You can point it out to me if you'd like. Army loses a tough one to a very good Troy team, 10-9. Air Force rolls 35-3. This Veterans Day weekend, we certainly want to give a call out to the military academies like we try to do here all the time. So anyway, there's a couple other scores that make some difference. So let me get into your God, every week, guys. Where do these bots come from? Every week. Now, you want hot girls, guys? Check out this post before I block them. Goodbye. Man, Facebook is getting to be a rough place. What do we got here? Allen's rankings after yesterday. I don't know what you got here. I'm not sure what I'm looking at here, Alan. We'll talk about it further. 25-17. Oh, I see. 25-17. I'm not going that deep. I don't have any reason to go that deep. Good morning, Carlos. Good to have you with us as well. Poor UCLA bombed yesterday. That's a bad look. Sorry, guys. Still have a little residual stuff going on here and there. Horrible loss. Not a good Arizona team. Can't lose a worse game than that. Listen, Lane Kiffin has nothing to be ashamed of with the way his team played yesterday. His team gave Alabama. Don't tell me about how Alabama's dropped so much. Alabama's a couple of drives from being undefeated. I mean, the demise of Alabama is laughable to me. They've lost a couple of games this year, yes. still one of the best teams in the country. And Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team played very, very good yesterday. This is a good team, and, you know, they had a chance to win at the end. Nothing to be lost. The Longhorns messed up. Listen, they're potent offense. I thought these two offenses would roll yesterday, as I said. I love the over in this game. Actually bet it, 64. 3-0 at halftime doesn't leave you much hope for that. But hard-fought team. TCU showed me something yesterday. Going to Texas, to Austin, winning this game on the road, regardless of whether Texas is, you know, middle of the road, you know, not a vintage Texas team. They've improved as the season's gone on. This is a good road win for TCU, and it really helps their chances going forward. There's Allen's 16 through 10. Thank you, Allen. Thank you, Allen. I'm not going to get into too much. I'm not going to go that deep. USC 6. I'll give you that. TCU, you drop. Oh, I see. Georgia. So you back me. We're going backwards now. You're going forwards. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. I think that stays the same. Tennessee 6, USC 7. I would agree with all of that. Honorable mention, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina, again, I think they're 9-1. Still in play for that New Year's Day 6 game for the best group of 5 team, but right now UCF's in control there. Probably the winner of the AAC is going to get that spot. Well, I didn't. It's not that I didn't like it, but you can't say teams are pretenders just because they lose and fall out. You're contenders, and you lose, and you're not in anymore. I mean, Rick, by your definition of pretender, everybody is a pretender. Everybody, except for the top 4. Again, to me, and again, I think it shows some of the SEC bias here. I'm sorry to say that, Rick, because you're not one of the guys that normally I would say that about. But there are good teams around the country. And some of these teams that lost, I would say UCLA. I'll give you UCLA. I'm not giving you Oregon. They lost to a really good Washington team. Yes, it was at home, but Washington's not a bad football team. It's the 25th ranked team in the country. UCLA, bad loss, likely a pretender. But that wasn't one of the teams I was talking about either. When we were talking about pretenders, I can't remember what spurred me to say that. It was about somebody who lost, I think, the week before, and I don't remember exactly who now. But again, there was 11 contenders, and there's still 8 contenders right now. Jimbo had to go in special teams. Special teams. I saw a bunch of missed kicks yesterday. I mean, you're right about special teams. You know how I feel about that. Jimbo Fisher, though, seriously, I know guys like to say, well, the oil men can get anything done. They're not giving away $86 million for him to go away. They're stuck with him until this buyout goes down, which might be 2 or 3 more years before it's palatable when it's $50 million. No, it wouldn't be 50. Well, close to it. 3. It's going to take 3 years for this thing to get under 50. I just don't think they can dump him. Georgia roughed the kicker, and Mississippi roughed the kicker on a field goal and let Georgia score a TD. There, you know, missed field goals, bad play, as you mentioned, bad penalties. There's just some bad stuff. There was some bad special teams in that Tulane UCF game. I watched a lot of that yesterday because I had bet Tulane. Here's another one. You want to see private photos, guys? Good freaking grief. Every week now I got these bots in here. So anyway, Rick, about the pretenders, you're entitled to that opinion, right? My opinion is there are pretenders. UCLA is a good example. But I think maybe you remember, Rick, and I hope I didn't piss you off. Listen, we're going to have disagreements. I mean, that's what these shows are for. And sometimes I understand when I get passionate about what I think, and I don't want it to sound like I'm, necessarily demeaning somebody else's opinion, but I think we're too harsh on some of these teams. I can't remember. I wish I could remember the team that really set me off and got me thinking that. Yes, thank you. I did find that out, Alan. Liberty, again, a really good football team. UConn has nothing to be ashamed of this year. Again, they're not in any danger, by the way, of competing for national championships in the near future, but Jim Moore has done a great job there this year. Coaches do make a difference. Yes, they do. Here's the problem, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong because Jim Moore's been around the block a lot. I mean, the great job he's done here at UConn, if he were to continue progress there next year, how long is he going to be there? Now, he's had, a chance at a lot of places, both in the NFL and college, and maybe he's not going to get a chance to elevate himself at some point. But yes, they do make a difference for sure. UConn beat UConn. Bill, I think you should. There's a videos that I keep catching on Facebook now about guys like telling dad jokes to each other. I think you should get involved. I think you should get involved in that. And good morning, Billy. Good to have you with us this morning. Good morning, Rick. I don't think I said good morning to either. We're talking about LSU. Is that who we were talking about? I don't think that's who we were talking about Wednesday, Carlos. They're not a pretender either, by the way. Because if they win the SEC championship, they're in. They're not going to beat. I shouldn't say that. I've been down on LSU most of the year. They struggled with Arkansas yesterday. They lost to Tennessee at home badly. But they beat Alabama. Something to be said for that. And again, who knows? They go into to play that SEC championship game against Georgia. Who knows what could happen? So they put themselves in a position to be able to shock the world, basically. I mean, I don't think that makes you a pretender. It is only opinions, right? And just like, you know what, we all got one. or more than one. I wish I could remember, Rick, who the team was that set me off the other night. Who was it? Somebody lost last week, and maybe you were talking about Clemson. I don't know. Clemson's still alive now. They need a miracle. Morning. Where's Augustine today? His Oregon Ducks go down, and he disappeared on us. Where'd he go? So let's take a quick look. First, I want to take a quick look at. Let's take a quick look around the conference standings real quick. The major conferences, because I want to, and I'll include the AAC because that's an important one because of the New Year's Day 6 ramifications. With Tulane losing yesterday to UCF, they've got control now of that conference. They're either going to play Tulane or Cincinnati, most likely in that championship game. Most likely that game will determine the team that gets that New Year's Day 6 invite, I should say. So interesting there. The ACC, Clemson's wrapped up the Atlantic, and I believe North Carolina. I think we're set here for North Carolina against Clemson. Clemson, I think, is still alive, would need a lot of help ahead of them. They got to win the ACC championship. I don't think, and it's funny how we all of a sudden 9-1, Clemson's really bad this year with 9-1 record. Alabama's really bad, 8-2. We're so wrapped up in the playoff that we don't recognize some of the great seasons that happen outside of the playoff, right? And if you don't get there, if you're Clemson, you're Alabama, we have not had a playoff where one or both of those teams were not part of it since we went to this format in, I'm not sure, 2014 maybe. But, we're going to see it. Listen, North Carolina could have a shot if things break right. The next few weeks, obviously, things are going to play out. What I think is we're going to have, if TCU were to lose somewhere, we're going to have a bunch of logjam with that one loss, and you're going to have a possible mess when it comes to picking that fourth team. I still think, and I said this a couple times on a few shows Friday, and maybe I said it Wednesday, that I think there's going to be enough chaos getting to that maybe 3 and 4 teams that you may see the playoff expansion come much, much sooner. The Big 12, TCU has punched their ticket to the championship, but it's still wide open for the rest. I don't know what the tiebreakers are out there without looking at them, obviously, Alan. Kansas State right now would have that other spot in the championship game. Oklahoma State still alive, even at 4-3. The rest of these teams are 5-2, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. So, this becomes like the ACC last year. Here's another freaking bot. What is going on with Facebook lately? My God. You guys must see these things, right? In the comments. So the question becomes the Big 12, right? Is it a mediocre league this year? Or is it like the ACC? Not this year so much, but last year I thought the ACC was better than people thought. Because, Al's quick. What we got here? Sorry, before I go on. We got some good mornings. We got Alan is quaking around somewhere. There's Carlos. There's our block. How come I just blocked this guy and his comments are still here? What the hell? Has he got a bunch of different ones? I'm not putting these things up where you guys can go watch games and end up in a bad spot. Kansas State wins next week. They're in. Yeah, I can see that. And by the way, Kansas State would have a puncher's chance against TCU in the championship game. I can't see a one-loss TCU team getting in the playoff, by the way. Big Ten, listen, Michigan's big thing. Michigan beats Ohio State at Ohio State. Is there any way the team from the East loses to the team from the West? Right now, at least the way they list the standings, Purdue's number 1 at 4-3 in the West. Illinois really blew a good chance yesterday. Iowa, Minnesota, all these teams are 4-3 and still have a shot. Michigan and Ohio State's not losing either one of them. So the winner of that game is going to be in. The loser is going to have to go into that bucket with Tennessee. Because remember, the problem with the Ohio State Michigan setup is they play in the same division. That these teams are undefeated, probably going to go into that game undefeated, and the loser can never get to the conference championship game. That hurts them. Good morning, CA. Good to have you with us this morning. How's the darts going? The independents we don't need to concentrate on. They are not eligible. It's interesting. Notre Dame's, they're not eligible to get one of those New Year's Day 6 games by being the highest rated team. So Liberty, Notre Dame cannot get that New Year's Day 6 bid because they're not part of one of the Group of 5 conferences. The Pac-12 yesterday, good for USC and bad for USC because Oregon and UCLA both losing hurts their strength of schedule. If they don't win the Pac-12, they're out. Even if they win the Pac-12, they're not guaranteed of getting in over one of the other one-loss teams. Tennessee possibly could have an argument if it comes down to a matchup against USC, deciding who gets in or out. Utah's played well, so you've got, I would say USC's probably, well, they're not even guaranteed of getting in yet now that I think about it. They've still got UCLA left. So Oregon, UCLA, Utah, and even UCLA still alive. Washington even still alive for a chance of playing in that conference championship game. But it's going to be very tough. As we said, in the SEC, Georgia, and unless Georgia were to fall on their face, and they're not because they got bad teams left. Tennessee's got bad teams left, so they're going to be 11-1, and Georgia's going to be 12-0. LSU's wrapped up the other division, unless I think it's wrapped up now. And so that gives you your matchups, and are the standings going to change a whole lot? Are the rankings going to change a whole lot? We'll take a look at that in a second. Kansas State wins next week, and we already got that. We already got that too. ESPN top 10, number 2 has a player jumping over the defender, making him look foolish. That's why I hate most targeting calls. The targeting rule needs to be looked at. Guys are too fast, and guys are too athletic, right? To be able to, they move while you've already started your move on a tackle. Now, look, there are some plays that are obviously targeting, right? But there are some plays where it's impossible. You start your move to make a tackle. The guy makes an athletic move trying to avoid you and puts himself in harm's way. That's not on the defender, and we see too much of that. Too much of that. I've been talking about this for two and a half years now. Well, here. More elsewhere. Looking at the rankings, will there be any major change? No. Georgia's not going to move from number 1. Ohio State won't move from 2. I don't think. You could see a swap of Michigan and Ohio State, possibly. They both won convincingly yesterday. Don't see any reason to make that change, and it really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, so I wouldn't worry about it. TCU will hold on to the 4th spot. Tennessee, definitely at 5. Oregon has lost all chances. They'll probably fall out of the top 10. LSU will move up. Doesn't really matter where LSU is ranked. I don't think they win the SEC championship game. It's going to be hard to keep them out, even with 2 losses. They would be the first team with 2 losses to get into the playoff, the 14 playoff. If they lose, they're out. USC's got to win out to get in. Alabama's done. They'll probably move up, though. I would say, right? You're going to have Oregon and I guess that's it. Oregon fall out, so everybody else moves up a spot. Kind of irrelevant at this point. Clemson will move inside the top 10. Ole Miss will fall back. Utah will move up. Utah likely moves into the top 10, but no chance, I don't think. Again, a 2-loss Pac-12 team, having lost to Florida to start the season, having lost to UCLA, who just lost to Arizona, not going to happen. But they're going to move into that top 10 most likely this week. Penn State is on the verge of possibly moving up. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Probably, as I said, there are probably 8 teams left with a chance to get in. Georgia, number 1, Georgia easily is going to get in. They win the SEC. That's the easiest path for them. Even if they lose the championship game to the Tigers, and it's a really good game, they'll have a chance to get in. They probably have an edge over Tennessee because of that victory. The question is going to become, does a 10-1 Georgia team, or I'm sorry, 11 and they'd be at that point they'd be what, 12-1. Does a 12-1 Georgia team get in before a 12-1 USC Pac-12 championship team? Comes a question. Or TCU, if they were to lose. So that's one of the teams. If Georgia were to lose, which I don't think they will. I think Georgia will take care of business, and that one will be easy. Ohio State, Michigan become a little bit different. Win that Michigan game, Ohio State's in. Same for Michigan. Because I don't see how they're going to lose the Big Ten title game, whoever plays that. The loser falls into that bucket. 10 and they'll be again 12-1 potentially. Well, I guess 11-1 because you can't get to the championship game, right? You fall into that bucket, and it becomes again. TCU is going to find themselves in this conversation, even if they go undefeated. I'm afraid they're going to find themselves in a conversation with Tennessee, Michigan, with won losses, teams that did not get into their championship game but won losses. Are they better and more deserving than, say, TCU, even undefeated? I would say no. You go undefeated when your conference championship game, you got to be in. TCU, it's easy. Winning, you're in. The problem, as I said, with TCU, even undefeated, and especially if there's one loss, a lot of their wins have lost some luster now. Oklahoma win, not looking so great. Kansas win, not looking so great. Kansas State, not looking so great. Oklahoma State, not looking so great. So TCU still has some question marks with this committee. Again, I don't keep an undefeated Big 12 championship team out. A one-loss team, and I know or it wasn't CA, I think it was John DeLong, who said during the college football huddle that he didn't think TCU, even undefeated, would make it. I don't buy that. Tennessee at 9-1, their path is tougher. They're going to win their next two games, and I think style points matter, so they're probably going to be looking to win big. They're going to come into the debate with a couple of conference championship teams with one loss. Are they more deserving than those teams? I have a hard time. My philosophy has always been, if you're in a Power 5 conference and you win that conference, you need to be in, unless you've got 4 losses or something, right? I mean, you need to be in. LSU, there's the simple. They got to win. They need to win out. USC also needs to win out. Then they might need some help because, again, they fall into some conversations with Clemson if they win the ACC, Tennessee, TCU possibly if they've got one loss. And that one loss comes in a championship game. I don't know what TCU's got next week. I don't think it's anybody in good. We'll look at it in a second. Clemson, again, probably the last team with a shot. I would say those are the 8 teams with a shot. We'll look at this closer on Wednesday night when we can spend some more time on it. They can't afford to lose, obviously. They got to win out and beat North Carolina in that championship game, which will not be easy. North Carolina's got a good team. I'd love to make it. I don't know how he's not in the Heisman conversation. Really, really good. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, let's see. Where did I leave off? Here? Nightmares if LSU somehow beats Georgia. That really throws a lot of chaos into this, right? And that's one of the things I think where if that were to happen, you're likely to see this college football playoff expansion maybe as soon as next year, because that's going to cause some chaos. Because I don't see how you keep LSU out, and that's going to keep a team theoretically that's better, a Tennessee team that went to LSU and beat them handily, out. Georgia, possibly out. I think Georgia would get in unless they got beat badly by LSU. But you're right, CA. It is a nightmare for the committee if LSU somehow wins that game. Peach Bowl and Fiesta Bowl are the semis this year, and they are again on New Year's Eve, I believe. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong. I am going to the recovery room today. I am for sure. Yeah, I've had that problem with Fox now. Mission something or other. I have DirecTV streaming. I don't know if you have the dish or not, Rick, but it's really starting to piss me off too. I did find an app for my phone where I can watch every game and then mirror it to my TV, which that's what I've done when I've had to. Had to do it with the Patriots a couple times when I was laid up sick and they weren't on. So yes, we will be at the recovery room today for sure. Predictions, Peach Bowl, Georgia, Tennessee. Wow, Georgia, Tennessee. So wait a minute. Tennessee. So you're predicting the Michigan will lose Ohio State and be out. See, this is where you get into, now you come into, and I'm assuming you're thinking TCU's undefeated here, right, Alan? Not bad predictions. Tennessee's needs some help. That'd be interesting to see that rematch. I would be very interesting to see a Georgia Tennessee rematch to see what Josh Heupel and that coaching staff has learned from that atrocious performance against Georgia. Yeah, I'm not going to get into these predictions. I don't, I'll put them up here, Alan, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Are these ads a ploy by Basement Bob? He should plug his books during your shows. He should. I haven't talked once yet today about my 16-team playoff opinion. Oh, my God. Basement Bob. I love it. For those of you who don't remember, when I talked about a 16-team playoff, this was last year, I think. And I did a vlog on it and went through the whole thing. Every conference winner gets in, and I think that's 10 conferences, and you have 6 at-large teams and blah, blah, blah. Laid it all out, and Basement Bob sent me a cease and desist because this was his idea. Like nobody, he wrote a book about this 12 years ago, which nobody bought except his mom. And I didn't say it was an original idea. I certainly didn't get it from Basement Bob. But I've heard guys talk about these different playoff scenarios for 5 years. Oh, God. TCU versus Baylor. Baylor's really played badly. I doubt they're going to lose to Baylor. So the Big 12 championship game is the best place for them to lose. If it happened, Michigan or Ohio State. 1 TCU, 2 LSU, 4 Georgia. That's a nightmare right there, right? Michigan's out. Tennessee's out. That's probably a good. I see you got Michigan or Ohio State 1. Sorry. And this is CA's prediction if LSU were to beat Georgia. So he would still have Georgia in. I think you're probably right. This is probably a good TCU could be up for grabs though if they don't. Again, I'm assuming you're saying they're going to be undefeated, as Allen was. You watched on the phone. Well, you can mirror it to if you have a smart TV, Rick. And I don't know what you watched it on. Well, anything you have on your phone, you can mirror to your TV if you have a smart TV and a smartphone, obviously, which I'm assuming you do. I don't know if I gave that. I might have given you guys the place we found to get these games. You sometimes lose the stream and you got to go to a different feed and whatnot. But we had pretty good luck. We watched the Patriots that way last week, and I think I had to change the stream just once. So if I don't know if I gave you guys this link, I would be happy to do it if I haven't. Moms are truly the best human beings in the world. They are, because they'll buy their son who lives in their basement's book. And they don't. Listen, I don't know if all the basement guys in the world are related, but they could be. This guy was hilarious. I say he sent me a cease and desist. He didn't. He sent me emails. He posted on my YouTube post. And he basically told me he was going to get a cease and desist if I didn't stop talking about this idea that he came up with 12 years ago. Could Coastal Carolina and UCF both get at-large bids, or is that one group? That's one group. The highest ranked group of 5 team gets that New Year's Day 6 bowl game. Now, I guess there's nothing to say they could. It's an automatic bid. So for somebody to get an at-large, let's say, as you're talking about, Alan, the more I think about it, there's nothing to say the Bulls couldn't do it. Very unlikely, though. I mean, they're going to take, they're not getting in over. So it's 12 teams, right? I mean, if you look at the teams that probably aren't going to get in to the playoff, and there are some contractual obligations with these games as well. So I think the idea that a second team could get an at-large into the New Year's Day bowl games is a bit problematic, because you still got connections with the Pac-12 with the Rose Bowl, and Big Ten with the Rose Bowl. So, for instance, you got to find room for Tennessee, possibly, for Ole Miss, possibly, for Alabama, possibly. You got to find room for maybe TCU. It's possible. So it's unlikely, I think, that one of those teams could get outside of the automatic bid. I don't think there's a way to do it. Yeah, I've never had. I don't mirror a lot of stuff. The only thing I've ever mirrored off my phone are sporting events, and I've never had any issue there. Cotton Bowl is the at-large game. Well, that's where the automatic bid, I think, for the group of 5 goes, right? Cotton Bowl. And both sides are at-large, I guess. So, again, there's a lot of other teams that are going to be above, whoever finishes that as that second team in the group of 5. It's going to have a hard time doing it. If they were a little higher ranked, I think you could be. You could do that too. That's a lot of work. Mirroring, I push 2 buttons, 1 button on my TV, 1 button on my phone, I'm done. All right. So look, I think that's what else is going on in the world of college football before I move on. Is there a couple, again, for Alabama yesterday, that's a nice win, a comeback after, listen, stop writing off Alabama. It's too funny how people want to write off Nick Saban and Alabama because of one bad year. They didn't win a national championship last year. This team's been in a playoff freaking 8 years in a row. Sonny Dykes loves the underdog label at TCU. Illinois' Brown, who's one of the best running backs in the country, he gets hurt with a leg injury. I'm not sure what his status will be going forward. We talked about Vandy and ending that 26-game losing streak in the SEC to Connecticut. That's a tough one for sure. Any other big news I want to talk about today? I don't think so. I think we're going to jump to the NFL here, and we'll do some Major League Baseball at the end. Let's see what we got here. Talking bowls, we should go to the Pinstripe Bowl. Why? Why do I want to go watch 2 6-5 teams play and pay a boatload of money to sit in the cold? I don't know. I just can't. There's too many bowl games, and Pinstripe Bowl is one of them. It would end up being maybe Utah and UCF, which would be a good match. That would be a good matchup, yes. UCF, listen, Gus Malzahn found a great landing place. I've talked about UCF for a long time, and now that they got Plumlee back, they're playing great football. They played a great game yesterday. They did let Tulane back in the game late, but I like a lot of the things UCF does, and UCF has put so much money into this football program. By all accounts, the boosters have built that program up, so they got some of the best facilities in the country, and now they're going to a conference next year, right? They're going to a Power 5 conference. This is a sleeping giant, and I think Gus Malzahn fell into something here. Germany's going to Hollywood. Yes, the NFL. We'll talk about that in a second here as I switch off. That's a good segue, but let me get to these other comments here. The game in Germany will be, I think, kicking off in about 10 minutes, Tampa Bay and Seattle. I like Tampa Bay. I'll pick Tampa Bay in that game, by the way. Carlos, we still need to find a way to get out. We do need to find a way to get together. I just don't know that it's going to be the Pinstripe Bowl. Because they probably play like on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Again, I'm sorry. It's not like I don't want to get together, and I don't want to besmirch the Pinstripe Bowl. I really shouldn't. But again, is it going to be a good game, or maybe we don't care? Illinois loses running back for the season. He was doing well. He's one of the best running backs in the country. I take it Keith wants. No, I don't want indoor. That's not what I said. I don't think you're going to get Rick to a Nick game, by the way. Maybe a Ranger game. I don't mind being outside in the cold. I remember I had season tickets in Foxborough for 10 years. It was cold half the season. I like outdoor sporting events better than indoor. It'll be 14 next year. 3 or 4 newcomers will make the immediate impact. It'll be 14 next year. Yeah, Cincinnati, UCF, and, well, BYU will have to rebound, right? But Houston's probably the only team that's really down there. Seattle, because running games and defense travel well. They're traveling a long ways, too. I'm having a hard time. As much as I love Pete Carroll, I was down on, and I got on Pete Carroll a little bit about his quarterback situation, which turned out to be ridiculous. I can see that Kenny and Billy and I are not as big assholes as you might think. Don't underestimate yourself, Greg. Kenny says he can't get into the show, but he says, hey, hello, Kenny. How come he can't get in? Is he blocked again? Time to go to YouTube. That's where you are, I think, Alan, right? Oh, my gosh. Anyway, let's move on to the NFL. Right. We got Seattle playing this right now. And again, I took Seattle before, you know what I'll do, too? I want to make sure that I'll do it when I do the picks. I'll show the standings. I'll put the standings up on the screen, and we'll go through the picks after that. Some news around the NFL. Let's take a quick look. I don't know why I've lost all my. I get this stuff all set up, so I got someplace to look, and then I get on Mac and Jack and I move stuff around. Let's see if I go backwards. I want to go around the league a little bit. The AFC East. What time is it? 9:23. We're okay. We'll do a little bit of baseball either before Mark comes in or while he's here. And if we miss it, we can always catch up next week. The AFC East getting closer and closer. The Bills with that tough loss to the Jets last week, only a half game ahead. The half game's in the loss column, which is very important, by the way. Then we don't know whether Josh Allen's playing this week. There's a lot of speculation that he's playing possum a little bit. Then there's speculation that the injury is even worse than what we know. So who knows? We don't know. And I guess we'll find out today. I did put him on my bench in my fantasy league because I'm not taking a chance on him not playing. I think Buffalo's still head and shoulders by the end of the season above this, maybe head, maybe not head and shoulders, maybe just head, ahead of the Jets and the Dolphins and the Patriots. The Jets have played very, very well, except for, again, they played badly against the Patriots. They throw a bad game in there because they're still a young team, and that's going to happen. But this is a team is most likely to make the playoffs. There's every possibility. Not saying it will happen, but there's certainly possibilities that you could say all 4 of these teams could make the playoffs. 9 wins is going to probably get a tiebreaker for playoffs. The Patriots are going to rue losing to Chicago a few weeks ago at home in a bad loss. But the Dolphins are better. And I have to tell you, I have been all over Tua. And Tua is probably the offensive MVP in the league right now. He's completing, and I've ripped him for his, and some people are going to tell you the wide receivers have made him, which is probably true. And I said, he wasn't accurate enough. He's completing 70% of his passes. Team's playing much, much better. I'll go through the AFC and then I'll get to your questions and comments and we'll go from there. So the Dolphins, I think, would be the major detriment to the Bills winning the division. Problem with Dolphins, if they've got 2 games in December, 2 league games, division games up north. I love the way the league schedules that, to be honest with you. They come to Foxborough and they have to go to Buffalo in December. So very interesting. Patriots, listen again. They're gonna rue the day that they lost to Chicago. They do have a tough schedule coming up here in the second half of the season. 2 games with Buffalo, another game with the Jets, another game with Miami. They got to go to Minnesota. So 9, even 10 wins is possible. I'd like to see them get to 10 because I think 10 is in. And all of these teams could get to 10. But I think 9 wins get you in the playoffs, but you could have, multiple teams, and then you got tiebreakers involved. So we'll see what we see. In the North, it's going to be a good race between the Ravens and the Bengals. I just don't see. You know what? Let me go to your comments here right now. We've got a bunch. I don't fall too far behind. I know Drew's here. I saw Drew pop in. Where are we? You're blocking Kenny as an ad guy. Only if he's putting up meet girls at so-and-so site. Never been to Foxborough. One of the few that I have not been for a game. Did you miss any winter? No. It's interesting enough, in all those years, we only ran into one driving. Because it's a 3.5 hour ride, or was a 3.5 hour ride for us at that point in time. It'd be shorter for me now. But we went to every game. I sat there when it was 25 below zero with the wind chill. I sat there during snowstorms. We fortunately didn't have to drive in the snow. One time, I think maybe once we got 15 miles from home, we ran into the snow. But we sat there while it snowed, and the roads were clear when we left. But we saw all kinds of weather. And by the way, that wasn't in Gillette Stadium, this nice, comfy new stadium. This was an old Foxborough stadium with metal bleachers. Man, it was cold in that stadium. OBJ has narrowed his list of teams to the Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, and Giants. All of them could use them because, the Chiefs and Bills would be overkill because they've got a bunch of weapons. The Giants definitely could use them because what Daniel Jones has done has been tremendous without any weapons to throw the ball to. Because you're getting ahead of me a little bit. Josh is active and expected to play. Probably was telegraphed. I'm still not going to start him. In fact, in 1 minute it'll be too late. I'm going to sit him. As the Bills, I think, should have sit him. I think the Bills should have sat him this week, by the way, because it's a non-conference game anyway. This one game isn't going to be that big a deal if they were to lose it, because they'd have plenty of time to make it up. They play all the teams in the division again, some of them twice, and I think they would have had given him a chance to rest a little bit. We'll see what happens. But once they didn't activate Barkley, it was pretty clear probably that Allen was going to play. The Jets will lose an easy one in 17 or 18 and miss the playoffs. Story of that franchise. Again, it's a different situation there now, though. Neil, it could happen, unless you're telling me that the team that's just snake bit. Jets have done a great job. Joe Douglas has done a great job, and I continually have to talk about the good things about these two teams in New York that I absolutely hate, but I'm trying to be non-biased and give you an idea of this. These two teams have made great strides. Morning, Kenny's here. Good morning. Not the only fan who wants Zach getting moved. Nobody said you were the only fan, Carlos. I said all you fans would be. What I said about Zach Wilson is that you don't give up on a potential franchise quarterback a year and a half into his reign. If you did that again, how many examples do I have to point out to you of guys that made the Hall of Fame or were great quarterbacks if they were given up on while they struggled during their first year or two? Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw struggled for half a decade. Troy Aikman, Steve Young. Who else? Where else can I go? Brett Favre. Peyton Manning. Awful his rookie year. So I never said you were the only one. That's the problem, Carlos. If you're the only one, I would just say you're nuts. But they're all nuts. Dolphins D hasn't been as advertised. No, the defense has been their undoing. But the offense has been able to cover up those deficiencies. And good morning, Drew. And I have to listen. I ripped Tua. I didn't think he was this good. I thought they would struggle because and accuracy is what I pinpointed as his deficiencies. Well, you don't complete 70% of your passes just because the wide receivers are making you better. Bush, both New York teams will struggle, of course. Why do New York fans want to bash their own team? Now, I guess you could say you're being realistic or you're trying to be unbiased. I think there's a reverse bias going on here. For whatever reason, you want them to fail. Because I've seen this with Jet fans all over. Every Jet fan I see that I talk to, they go, they just wait for their shoe to fall. Maybe with good reason because of the history there, but geez, guys, man, just horrible fandom. Maybe I'm spoiled. Mike Tomlin's going to have his first losing season ever in Pittsburgh. And by the way, the stability in coaching in Pittsburgh is something, maybe years ago you saw it with Connie Mack and guys like that in positions. And it's still very rare throughout the history of sports that you have this type of continuity. The Dodgers, I guess, with Walter Alston and Tommy Lasorda. But 3 coaches in 50 plus years, you don't see that, especially today. Do I think Mike Tomlin's? It's possible. I don't think he'll get fired. I think there'll be, they would have some kind of mutual agreement, or he'll decide to walk away. And they may need a new voice there. This team, this is not, they didn't just drop off the face of the earth and start playing badly. I think the last couple of years, some of their talent, the talent level, I think, has been depleting there slowly over the last couple of years. And some of that was hidden because you had Big Ben playing still at a decent level. And the offense was able to cover up some of those deficiencies. But now it's not just the quarterback. There's a lack of talent all over the field for the Steelers. I was not at that game. I wish I was. One of the most well-played videos probably on Facebook is that game in Don Shula. I love nothing better than watching Don Shula go nuts. Ron Meyer was the coach of the Patriots at the time. And this guy driving a snowplow was a guy on work release. Too funny. I love that game. Great game to be at. He will. He's not going to get fired, I don't think. Because that's not their MO there. They don't fire coaches. So I don't think, and I think they like that that moniker. I think they like being known as a team that has stability. And I think Tomlin would be leaving on his own. Meets girls never enough. Never enough. What are you talking about, man? Drew, probably Rick. They should have been much better in position to replace Ben than they are. And that's not Mike Tomlin's fault, by the way. That's upper management. I'm sure Mike Tomlin has quite a say in personnel there. But again, I do think his time has probably come for sure. That offense needs help in Pittsburgh. The offense and the defense. The defense is not as good as it was either, by the way. And TJ Watt being out has probably hurt them. I get that. But that's just one guy. The defensive, the quality and the depth of that defense is nothing compared to what it's been in the past. It's against Minnesota, a good team. What are we talking about? The Buffalo game? I get that. I'm not saying they should sit Josh Allen because they can win without him. I'm telling you that a win does not kill them. Oh, maybe you're talking about the Jets playing later on in the season. I'm not sure what you're talking about now. I guess maybe you're talking about that. You would like the Bills to win. I know you would. Vikings have played good. Vikings have played good football. Kenny had a tough time getting on today. Sorry about that. I don't know. I didn't block you, I promise. Gino. I just need more information, Carol. Oh, Geno Smith. Geno's played great football. Who saw that coming? Not me. Pete Carroll's a great coach. Pete Carroll doesn't get the credit he should. I don't think that Pete Carroll gets the credit that he should. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. He's done a great job in his time here at Seattle. He did a great job at USC. I know the posse chased him out of town, but whatever. He also did a very good job with the Patriots. Bob Kraft, just as an FYI for you guys, Bob Kraft still says his biggest regret, this is after hiring Bill Belichick and winning 6 Super Bowls, his biggest regret as the owner of the Patriots was firing Pete Carroll. He loved the guy. Now, they were sliding backwards at the time, so it was certainly justified, but Pete Carroll's a good football coach, and he's shown it this year. And Seattle's better than we think. If Geno were to continue to play at the level he's playing now, which is a big ask, but even if it diminished a little bit and he played well enough, Kenneth Walker III has stepped up big time to replace Penny there. They still got good wideouts in Lockett and Metcalf. And the defense is playing well. And this is a much better football team than we thought in a much weaker division than what we thought it would be. Fans in New York want them to fail because they're from New Jersey. Well, maybe that's right. I know people who aren't fans of the team want them to fail because they're not in New York. It ticks me off to know, listen, as a New York resident, not a fan of either team, ticks me off that 2 teams in New Jersey are called the New York Giants and Jets. How can you be the New York team when you don't play there? And don't tell me that's a New York metropolitan area. It's New Jersey. New York fans have suffered through the Jets, Knicks, Mets. They can never be happy. Well, we've also had the Yankees win 7 world championships. That's okay, Carlos. Overrated Philly too. Carlos, who? I don't know. I underrated Philly. I thought Philly would win 6 games this year. They've already won 8. And their schedule's not that hard going the rest of the way. Much better team than I thought. Steelers win today. Watt's back. Who are they playing? The Saints. These are both teams going nowhere. Steelers may win that game at home. We'll go through those standings here, or those picks in just a little bit. Pitt stayed would have been too long. I wouldn't disagree with that, but you still would have had to make a choice. I don't know that they were in any position to pick a quarterback and have a shot at one of the top-rated quarterbacks going back in time. So it was hard. They brought guys in like Mason Rudolph and different guys that were mid-level college quarterbacks, but they were never in a position to draft a guy to be the heir apparent because they were either good or good enough not to have a really good draft pick. I'm beginning to think, Kenny, this is user error. If you can't get into the show and you can't get into ESPN, I might have to get you a computer class. CA, the Giants and the Jets are going to determine much for the playoffs this season. Learn to enjoy the game and be grateful when your teams follow are relevant. I don't disagree at all. Again, two teams I absolutely hate. The Jets and the Giants, and I've got to spend time defending them to their own fans. It's amazing to me. By the way, this Jets-Patriot game next week is going to be huge. It's a huge game as we look towards potential playoff implications. This will be a huge, huge game, probably more so for the Patriots than the Jets, but we'll see how that goes. Did anyone notice that Alabama brought 5 extra players to the game? I don't know that I knew that, and I'm sure you can only have X amount of players in uniform, so maybe they brought 5 more than they normally bring, but you can't just add guys. But college rosters are like 80 guys. Kenny, Blue Oyster Cult concert. I saw that. Where was that, by the way? I thought it looked like the Egg for a second, but then I wasn't so sure as I was looking at the ceiling, believe it or not. But it kind of looked like the Egg when I saw a shot at the seats. Where was that, Kenny? Our scheduling has been weird. All AS4 NFC North teams in a row with a bye in the middle. That is a little weird. What do you got here, Drew? AFC South is a mess. Listen, the AFC South, let's get into this a little bit. The Titans surprised me a little bit, but the problem with the Titans is they're one-dimensional. If this team gets behind, when they start playing really good teams, they get behind. How are they going to make a get back in games? If they can run the ball, control the clock, keep the ball away from other teams, they'll have a chance. The defense is good. But this is a 5-3 team that's been outscored. The Colts are in second place and have a coach that got hired because he's a drinking buddy of the owner. Even Jeff Saturday. Did you watch Jeff Saturday's press conference? Even he was like, I don't know if this will work. I don't know if I'll be any good at this, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm a leader, which he was on the field. A little different doing it from the coaching standpoint when you don't have any experience. Yeah, he coached in high school, so what? This is just a weird move by Jim Irsay, who has made a series of weird moves since this team moved to Indianapolis. He was lucky, and somebody said this the other day, it might have been Rick, I don't remember, but he was lucky that he got Poulian to be his GM for the years where they were relevant, and Peyton Manning was the quarterback, and they had 2 good coaches in Jim Mora and Tony Dungy. Even his high school experience, by the way, Drew, is not that good. I think he's like 20-16 or something. Titans best of the worst. Well, it's actually the worst of the best, isn't it? Well, I guess you can look at it both ways, right? If you look in division, they're the best of the worst. If you look at like division winners, they're the worst of the best. The Jags, listen, Jags are making really good progress. The Jags are actually the only team in this division that's got a plus point differential. Their problem is, and they played some really good football. They got to learn to win. Happens with a lot of young teams, and they will because they've got a coach who's won. So I think this team next year And I think the second half of the season is important for this team to win games. They're past the point of playing well and being in games. They need to show that they know how to win, which will carry over into next year and give them some I forgot what I was going to say. Give them some momentum going into next year. Still a little COVID fog going on here. Bite your tongue. I still don't. Where were they? Were they at the Egg? Where were they? Oh, there you go. Sugarloaf in Chester County. That's a cool looking little place. I like it. I'm not drinking that Buffalo. You never want to drink the Buffalo Kool-Aid. The Giants are in trouble. Why? Because they're 6-2 and lost a game. They got the Texans today. They're going to win today. They're going to be 7-2. They're 2 wins from probably being in the playoffs because 9-8 wins will get in the NFC too. The NFC stinks. We'll get there. Talk about the AFC East next, probably. That boy, I tell you, it took some chutzpah. Of course, you didn't have for a regional rooting interest. I guess the Cowboys were your only choice. But to become a fan during the Dave Campo era is pretty bold. Why am I down on a Vrabel coach team? Well, because Mike Vrabel's a good coach. The team doesn't have a quarterback. The team doesn't have talent at the wide receiver level. The team's not scoring points. Their offense is atrocious. It's Derrick Henry, and there's another guy there that kind of backs him up. But their offense is awful. Talent is not there. That's not on Mike Vrabel. And just because he's an expatriate, I'm not going to tell you the team is good. The Titans will lose today and get upset by Green Bay Thursday. What did Al Michaels say this week? Al Michaels, listen, Al Michaels getting paid $10 million. He took the money to go to Amazon, and he should just shut up. I like Al Michaels, but stop. The games are awful. He's right. But don't bite the hand that feeds you week after week. He had a really funny line this week, though. I can't remember it now. I wish I could remember it. Oh, I meant the refs. One of the most blatant Allen games I watched. Not sure. AFC West, Chiefs as usual. Chargers treading water. Listen, we can say Herbert's underperforming, but the injuries that you just kind of talk about, if that injuries on the defensive side, and he's played without Keenan Allen, his best wide receiver all year. He's played without Mike Williams the last few weeks, who's also one of the top receivers in the league. So all things considered, I'm going to give Herbert a little pass here. This team also has scored less points than it's given up. To be 5-3, pretty good job. I just wonder, their coach, though, I think Kenny's getting him ready for the games with a little session of, what? Because he makes some weird decisions at the end of the game. His clock management makes Andy Reid look like freaking Bill Belichick. Maybe the Seahawks were right. Wilson is washed out. Listen, Russell Wilson has a lot of miles on him. 30, I think he's 32. But he's an old 32. He had to carry so much of the load in Seattle. And I said before the year, I didn't think this team would be as good as they thought. I didn't think the talent around him was any better than it was in Seattle. Maybe worse, as it turns out. And Hackett might be one and done. I really thought Nathaniel Hackett was hired with the idea that Aaron Rodgers was going to get moved and they would be in position to make a run at him. I think that's why Hackett was hired in the first place. AFC and NFC South are both horrendous, as we said. We just talked about the AFC South. The NFC South is as bad or worse. I said the Bucks wouldn't make the playoffs, but I also said the Panthers would win the division, which is not out of the realm of possibility yet, by the way. And it's entirely possible somebody wins that division with less than a 500 record. Well, you can't be 500, but Buffalo Kool-Aid is from the Love Canal. It's pretty funny. I ain't drinking Kool-Aid with Buffalo. The team has not gotten over the top and won the big game, but they've been in the AFC Championship game. It gets better every year. Their quarterback's still one of the youngest. He's still a young guy, still learning on the job, by the way. And by the way, if you want to talk about guys who were horrendous early in their career, you would have given up on Josh Allen back in the day, Carlos. Cowboys, Broncos, and Chiefs are the closest teams. To what? I'm not sure where that. Trading A.J. Brown was their offensive downfall. Agreed. Tremendous offensive player. Look what he's doing with Philadelphia. We're going to get to the NFC East here in a second. And we probably got to move along. I'm not going to get my picks done here. Bucks just missed a field goal. There you go. There you go. Mentioned in my preview show yesterday that if Adams stayed in Green Bay, maybe they're in a better spot. By the way, why isn't Devontae Adams in Green Bay? Because their quarterback's getting $50 million a year. And they can't. It's notwithstanding his. Alan, you can't just dismiss the fact that his contract is an albatross for this team, putting weapons around him. They had to devoid themselves of his number one weapon because of dollars. They weren't going to be able to pay him. So I'll blame Aaron Rodgers for that as well. He's selfish. The most selfish player in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers. As expected, a bunch of lousy teams. I don't know, though. Jeez. I mean, where? Oh, expected. Sorry. I guess I added the as. Sorry. I did expect a bunch of lousy. Well, I expected every team to be 9-8 or 8-9. So mediocre teams, yes. I had the Commanders winning this. I said Commanders. A team formerly known as the Redskins winning this division. They're not going to win it. They're not out of the playoff hunt either. And the Eagles are ripe to get picked off Monday night. And again, you'd like to see all these teams in the playoffs. It's possible. Again, look around at the rest of the league. The Commanders at 4-5 would be in the playoffs today. If the season ended today, which it doesn't, every one of these teams in the NFC East would be in the playoffs. And I would expect the Commanders to finish over 500. Closest to Oklahoma, I got you. Even Packer fans have agreed the contract wasn't good. It's awful. Again, all Aaron Rodgers has ever cared about is getting his money. There's a reason the Patriots were good for 20 years because Brady was never one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football. Did he get his money? Is he hurting for money? No, I don't think so. But he always took less to get better talent around him. Everybody hates Aaron Rodgers. Oh, the North. The Vikings continue to surprise and complement the offensive. The rest of the division is execrable. What the hell does that mean? Sorry. Oh, my command of the vocabulary is escaping me today. I guess it means horrendous because it is. The Vikings are good. Problem is Kirk Cousins. Guys like Kirk Cousins always seem to remember who they are at worst possible times. Think about Neil O'Donnell. Always said this when he was with Pittsburgh, not with the Jets because he was terrible. But Neil O'Donnell always showed. I remember they made a run to the Super Bowl, and I said to people, problem is Neil O'Donnell's going to wake up and remember who he is at some point. A couple other guys I could say that about too. My go-to song to clear the wildlife when opening the back gate. Perfect Deep Purple. There you go, Kenny. UNCA got to hook up. Cowboys or Giants with OBJ get an immediate upgrade in production. The Giants definitely do. So do the Cowboys. I agree. I would say the Giants need him more because they're going to need to throw the ball more consistently. And Daniel Jones has had a great year considering what he's had to work with there. I'm not sure. I asked him what his hot takes were going to be when he comes in today, and I have not heard from him. So I don't know if we're going to see him or not. Bears could finish second on the way to Fields playing now. They could. They're letting Fields play. They're giving him, problem is that you don't win with that type of quarterback. Lamar Jackson, great talent, fun to watch. They're not going to win Super Bowls with that style of offense in the NFL. Well, $6 million for any kicker is probably too much. I mean, the Patriots offensive MVP is Nick Folk. I guarantee you he's not making a quarter of that. NFC South, horrendous. They got to have a division winner. It's kind of in the league rules, unfortunately. They will be ousted for sure. Unless somehow the Bucs make a run here. I don't see that happening. I mean, the Rams gave them the game last week. Now, they had to score a touchdown with 44 seconds left. They got some of that old Brady magic, but the Rams just gave them the game. All they needed was a first down. Again, calling back to my Wednesday show, Kirk Cousins I don't disagree. Sorry, Rick. He's in hiding, I'm a busy man, and I'm important to pay my bill. In fairness, I'm not sure how he's going to get you a steak sandwich. Guess he can get you one from Subway. He can send you the money. Falcons laid an egg Thursday night. Falcons stink, by the way. They're just not that good. Let's we still got to do this West. Sorry, let's do the West quickly. Thank you, Drew, and then we'll go to some picks. Seattle's running away. I love McCaffrey to the 49ers, but again, I'm not a big Jimmy G fan. The only time they really seem to step up their game and play really well is against the Rams. And I don't think they're winning with Jimmy G. You've seen how far Jimmy G can take them. Took them to a Super Bowl, pretty much cost him the game. There's a reason he threw 8 times in the NFC Championship game that year. No doubt the top NFC wild card will enjoy the trip to the Southern representative. Right? Grubhub. That's a long trip from Philadelphia, though, man. Many consider the 49ers a top 3 team in getting healthy. Many, not me. Well, top 3 in a bad NFC is not saying a lot either. I think the top 3 teams in the league might be in the NFC East. Saying. Let's get to the picks. Let me do a little review here in case Mark does come in. I was going to share this with you guys. These are my picks. Hold on. Oh, shit. I'm in the wrong thing here. Still in my college thing from yesterday. Here we are. You guys want me to share this? I will share this if I can. Share screen. Chrome. Pick them. Share. All right, let me see what I got here. Am I sharing? Am I not sharing? What am I doing? I can't see what the hell's going on. All right, I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see this as I go through it. So here's the leaderboard. S. Crawl continues to lead, 67 wins. Excalibur, and he had 10 last week. I still don't even know who this is. Excalibur, no picks last week. What happened? Oh, this is this week. Sorry. My bad. 10 wins last week for Pedro. I'm not sure who Pedro T is. Boomer Sooner had 7. Not a great week for anybody. TGI Sports Talk was third with 7, tied for second with 7, however you want to look at it. Drew had 6 points last week. Waldo had 6. Headless Horseman had 5. Not sure who that is either. S. Crawl only had 5. Excalibur only had 5. And then we got the Mad New Yorker down here at 3. Doing well there, Carlos. And as far as the season, 67 for S. Craw. Right behind him is Excalibur at 65. Drew at 63. Waldo, doing good, Waldo, 63. TGI Sports Talk's moving up. Tied for 5th with Boomer Sooner at 61. ESPN, not sure who that is. Headless Horseman, still not sure who that is, down with 55. And the Mad New Yorker down here with 460. Perth Red Raider and some others. I know Rick, too, I think, has had to drop out. So I'm going to show you my picks as we go through here, and then I'll get back to your comments here. Here are my picks. I had the Falcons Wednesday night or Thursday night, so great start to the week for me. I have the Buccaneers today. I have because I think Tom Brady might get a little bump from last week in that comeback, but we'll see. They've already got a missed field goal, as Rick said. I like the Buffalo to win the game today, but I like the Vikings plus the 7.5. Same thing here. I do think the Bears will win this game, but I think it'll be very close, maybe a field goal against Detroit. The Titans minus 3.5 over the Broncos. Broncos, nobody can bet the Broncos, especially on the road. I think Tannehill's back today, maybe limited, but listen, I think they'll run the ball and control the clock, and I think they'll win this game by a touchdown. Kansas City, I like plus even minus 9.5. The 9.5. The Jaguars just have not shown me enough yet. I love the Dolphins against the Browns today, minus that 3.5. I love the Giants. This is a little tough. The game's really 5 today. I'll be betting the Giants minus the 5. 6.5, I'll take them as well here. The Steelers against the Saints, there's no way in this type of game. I'm not taking the home team if they're getting points. The Raiders I'll take. As bad as they've played, and listen, I should be rooting for the Raiders to lose every game because the more they lose, the closer Josh McDaniel is to getting shown the door quickly. But there's no way to take the Colts and Sam Ehlinger and Jeff Saturday. And there is also a little bit of a storyline here with McDaniel playing the Colts, who we left at the altar here a few years ago. I'm going to take the 5.5. I don't think the Green Bay will win, but I like them with 5.5 at home against the Cowboys. I just don't see them blowing them out here. I think there'll be enough incentive for Green Bay to play well with their old coach coming home. I think this will be maybe a 3 or 4 point game. I like the Rams. I can't, I think Wolford may be playing quarterback today, but the Cardinals are so bad. Kyler Murray has regressed so badly that I just don't see how this team is going to make any kind of move in this NFC West. Now, the Rams, by the way, have got all kinds of problems, and we know about that. And part of it is Stafford may not play today. So I will take the Rams minus 3.5. And I'll take the Chargers plus 6.5 against the 49ers. I do like the way this team has competed, and I think they can stay in this game. They'll probably lose, but I don't think it'll be more than 6.5. And I'll take the Commanders plus 10.5. And I'm going to give them a chance to upset this team come Monday night. We'll see how that goes. All right, guys, let me get to your comments here. Let me stop sharing here and get to your comments. Kenny, I remember someone saying that if they're willing to pay you, then they're worth it. Well, that's me. I agree with that. But I say that they're worth it to them. is what my point. But that doesn't mean you should take the money and compromise your team. So it's two different things, right? So you're not wrong. I've said that often. But if you take the money at the expense of your team and being able to make your team better, then you're not much of a team player, I guess is my point. You're not wrong. I made that comment, and I guess, you can use it here, but I'm not sure that it's in the spirit of what I was saying. Record-wise, not, but they still got to get by the East. Not sure what that is. Only Scraw 28 had Thursday night's game correct. I should have taken Carolina. I should have known better. Anybody bets games in that division has got to be nuts. Steel oats, roasted pecans, fresh butter, pinch of brown sugar, and a slice butter. Well, it sounds really good. Not sure where that came from, but it sounds good, CA. Locking the Cowboys on the road against a struggling, banged-up Packers team. I think the Packers have some pride, a little bit of pride left, and I think they keep this game close. That's an interesting pick. The Broncos upsetting Tennessee. I guess if they're going to win somewhere, it would be against Tennessee. Wolford and Colt McCoy might both be playing. I did see that this morning. It's they're both. I think they're both game time decisions. That'll be worth the price of admission, right? In baseball, yeah, because we might get to some baseball, especially if Mark doesn't show here. Houston GM couldn't work with Jim Crane. It's very funny. They did offer me. I got a tussle with a guy saying they fired their GM. Well, they didn't fire him. They offered him a 1-year contract, and he turned it down. That's not getting fired. Now, even if they gave it to him knowing he'd say no, still doesn't mean he got fired. He made a decision not to come back. And it's funny because I've touted, and I did it in my vlog Friday, that Houston is the model organization in sports as far as how to keep a team, to run a team top to bottom, and keep it relevant and in contention for years. They're a dynasty. This is a dynastic team. Now, this is the first sign of a little bit of chink in the armor, and we'll see how this works out going forward. But this team's still probably the favorite to win the World Series next year. Dusty Baker will be back. He's already said, why not go for 2? Dusty Baker has put himself in the Hall of Fame, and his team is definitely a dynasty. 6 consecutive AL championships, 4 World Series, 2 World Series championships. And don't tell me about any freaking cheating scandal. Ruth Glove goes for $1.5 million. I saw that. That was a very interesting. I've never gotten this stuff, right? I would love to have a Babe Ruth club. I would love to have a Mickey Mantle rookie card. I don't see how these guys pay this kind of money for the memorabilia. But again, I guess guys have money to burn. Qualifying offers given or not. Braves and Astros strengthen their bullpen. Signed free agents. Montero, yes. Signed, I think, 3 years, right? What do you get? 3 years, $34 million, right? 3 years, $34 million. Kershaw re-signs, I think, for 1 year with the Dodgers. Diaz signs with the Mets. That's, I think it was a record contract for relievers, right, Drew? And to me, it's a bit. Listen, he was the best reliever in baseball last year, but relievers are so up and down. I mean, from 1 year to the next, they're just, except unless you're Mo Rivera, relievers are just unreliable to carry on sustained success. So a little bit of a, I think the Mets had to do it. Don't get me wrong. But a little bit of a interesting quagmire there. All right, I'm going to assume Mark's not going to show. What else we got here? Interesting. We got opt-outs in both New York markets. Well, obviously we got opt-outs with Carlos Correa. You got opt-outs with DeGrom. You got opt-outs with Rizzo. These are some of the bigger ones that I can think of off the top of my head. DeGrom's going to be an interesting situation for the Mets and around baseball. He's going to command maybe Scherzer money. When he's healthy, he's probably still the best pitcher in baseball. But the problem is he's not healthy. The last 3-4 years, he's struggled with his health. 3 years anyway. He's 34 years old. How are you giving this guy more than a couple-year contract? I'll give him 2 years, $39 or $40 million, whatever he's looking for, but not 4 years, not 5 years. If there's probably one dumb team out there that'll do it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let me finish up these football topics here, and we'll get into some more baseball as we finish up the show here, Drew. So you can throw some more topics out there if you'd like. There's a lot to talk about, and we will be talking about as we go forward. I think free agency just opened up, unless you're signing with your own team on the 10th. Packers won't have much of their starting offensive line. Dubs, Watson are out. Look at it. I understand all that. I'm just saying I think they'll play a reasonable game. I don't think they're going to win. Kenny's not defending Rodgers. He hates him. Listen, I'm not defending Aaron Rodgers. He sucks. He sucks as a human being. He sucks as a teammate. And right now he sucks as a quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, over the years, there was a time where I really appreciated what Aaron Rodgers brought to the NFL and brought to the Green Bay Packers. He had a tremendous talent. He could do things Tom Brady could never do with the football. But he's turned into a nut job. Go join your cult. I think he leaves this year and goes totally to the Jim Jones cult or whatever the hell he's part of there, and he's just lost his mind. I'm talking about the kicking, not some old has-been quarterback. Oh, yeah. If you're talking about the kicker getting $6 million, that's fine. I have no problem with a guy getting paid whatever he should, but kickers are probably not going to get that kind of money on most teams. Is my point. Nick Folk, again, who probably is the MVP of kickers in the league this year, in my mind. And again, I haven't seen them all kick, but I've seen what he's done and meant to the Patriots offense. Probably gets paid about, who the hell knows? I say a third of that. Maybe not even that. Oddly enough, the Falcons are 7-3 against the spread this year. Which is all fine for bettors, right? But if you're following the NFL, nobody cares. Because that record doesn't get you into playoffs. You do. We know Kenny hates. Rick Paula said you earned some muffins for that answer. Favorite breakfast on game days and eating whatever. Bucks up 7-0. Rose sent another. That's a good topic too. Pete Rose bet on baseball. Pete Rose, and I didn't read this letter. I didn't read this letter. I saw it, started to read it, and then I said, I don't really care. Pete Rose should be in a Hall of Fame. The steroid user should be in a Hall of Fame. You can't have a Hall of Fame without the number one hit leader in baseball. But he needs to be in there, and the whole story needs to be told. His plaque needs to say, suspended for life for betting on baseball. And Pete Rose, and I did hear, and I'll read the letter again. I just started to read it, and I said, I just didn't feel, I know it's not very long, but I didn't feel good or something at the time, and I said, I'm not reading more of Pete Rose's nonsense. But Pete Rose needs to admit the fact that, he likes to stand, and his supporters like to stand. And again, I say put him in the Hall of Fame. Remember that. But Pete Rose will always claim he never bet against the Reds. And maybe he didn't. Mike never turned in a slip of paper that said, I think the Reds are losing. But when you're betting on your team night in and night out, anytime you don't bet on your team, you really bet against them. You signal to other teams, or I shouldn't say other teams, other gamblers, that you don't think your team can win that night. That's not a little thing. And you also, in those games you didn't bet on them, or even the games you did bet on them, are going to manage differently. So Pete Rose has never gotten the fact that technically he did bet against his team every time he didn't bet on them. That's the thing he's got to admit, that he understands and that he did something wrong, and he knows it now. And this letter might say that. And I do say Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. The steroid users should be in the Hall of Fame, warts and all. Steroid users, you put David Ortiz in. How are you not putting in frickin' Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds is beyond me. But again, their plaques need to say they cheated the game. But Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds were Hall of Famers before they used drugs. Changed Munich game 3 times. Bogarts opt out as well. Bogarts is an interesting, the shortstop situation is a very interesting. What do we got here? 10-16. The Bogart situation is a very interesting dynamic. You got Swanson, who the Braves may not bring back to bring Bogarts in. You might see a swap of shortstops there, not a trade per se. But you could see Swanson sign with the Red Sox. If I'm the Braves, I bring back Swanson and let Bogarts go somewhere else, because Swanson's been part of this team, part of this winning tradition that they've built up the last few years. He grew up with the team. They made a mistake already dumping Freddie Freeman. Don't do the same thing with Dansby Swanson, but they're probably going to, because they see Bogarts as a bit of an offensive upgrade. But the shortstop situation is very interesting with Correa, Turner, Bogarts, and Swanson. Be very interesting what happens. Baseball's done. No, baseball does continue on, because the hot stove season is as much fun as the season, if not more. Yes, there are going to be a lot of big contracts signed among the shortstops for sure. As I just said, again, I don't think I talked about this a lot Friday. I don't know if I didn't talk about it with the Are You Serious show, but with the New York sports, Let's Talk New York Sports and MLB recap that I did for the Let's Talk Sports Network. I talked about how the Yankees need to stay away from this class. The Yankees' plan last year, going with Kiner Falefa, was that he was just a stopgap until one of the kids was ready. Well, both the kids might be ready, and it's probably time to find out. If that was your plan last year, you can't blow that up unless you're signing Turner or want to move to second base and maybe trade Torres. You can't blow that up when that was your plan last year. That means you gave away the whole year. You should have signed Correa last year. Well, she's been married to Kenny for a gazillion years. How can she not be the best? I'm going to tell you something. Your team's not ready to contend. I keep telling you this, Alan, and I told you this last year, and you didn't want to believe me. They already overreached last year with the big contracts to Simeon and Seager for a team that's not ready. You're repeating the past there in Texas. You're not building the right way. You want to sign a Rondon and DeGrom when you're not ready to compete. And you sign him for 2 years. This team's probably 2 years away. So now that he's not part of your team, if he even stays healthy, by the time you're ready to compete, you really think you're ready to compete in the AL West and compete with the Astros today? You got a Hall of Fame manager in Bruce Bochy. I understand, but it's going to take a little time. And I think the Rangers are in danger of repeating the past if they go that direction. Well, the Cowboy, it has any. No, I think, again, this is one of the reasons I think the Packers have a chance today. Rivalries are high and low depending on where the teams are. I mean, the Yankees and Red Sox had a rivalry for years before when the Red Sox were no good. They had a rivalry only in the sense that if you consider the rivalry between a hammer and a nail a rivalry, it was in name only. But it was still must-see baseball when the Yankees and Red Sox hooked up, even when the Red Sox weren't winning or the Yankees weren't winning. So, yeah, I still think this is a good game, and I think that's why this matters to the Packers and why I think they have a chance today. What'd I do at 180 on? The salaries? Not sure. Tell me what I did at 180 on. And it could have been, I'm not sure what it was. I do change my positions from time to time. I don't just stick with them for the sake of sticking with them if I was wrong in the beginning. And I usually qualify that. So I'm not really sure which thing we're talking about, Kenny, but point it out to me and I'll be glad to address it in the next 9 minutes. Unless you're Justin Tucker, who's been the best kicker by far. Over his career, yes, Justin Tucker he might be the best kicker in history. A suck-up, missed a 52-yard field goal. Listen, my kicker's been Nick Folk. I'm going to miss him this week, man. He's been scoring 20 points a game. Shoeless Joe and Eddie Seacott, too. Well, again, Shoeless Joe should be in the Hall of Fame. Eddie Seacott, I'd have to look at his numbers to really get a good feeling. But Shoeless Joe Jackson was banned for, throwing the 1919 World Series or being part of that. And there's still a lot of debate whether he did or didn't. I mean, the guy hit 400 in the series or some crazy number. And I know you got to look at when those hits came and whatnot, but there's a lot of debate where he even knew what the hell was going on. Not the brightest guy in the brightest tool in the shed, right? Not even a high school education, couldn't read or write, and one of the great players in history. But again, I say put him in and tell the story. Pete Rose? It's a good autograph. Yeah, I would put Shoeless Joe in. Yeah. The Hall of first of all, we're keeping great players out for transgressions that they had. Where you could put them in and tell the whole story. Good and bad. I want warts and all, right? But we've got a Hall of Fame now that's become the Hall of Good. Gil Hodges, great player, doesn't belong in a Hall of Fame. He's a very, very good player. If you want a Hall of very, very good, then Gil Hodges should be in. Harold Baines should be in. But if you want a Hall of Fame with the best of the best, then Harold Baines and Gil Hodges and I'm trying to think who else got in. Even Jim Cott don't belong in the Hall of Fame. I love Jim Cott. Well, when he makes him in a game, then we got a story. Kickers, wide right. Joe Jackson stepping out. Yeah. I would like to see the Yankees sign Rondon, Peraza at short, Volpe at second base. Maybe. It's going to be hard to play both those kids. Because you're not going to be able to wait till spring training. If you're going to decide to do that, you're going to have to decide during the winter. That's going to be your plan, and you're going to move Torres. I would probably keep Torres maybe now. Well, you got LeMahieu. You got to re-sign Rizzo, number one. Then you got LeMahieu to bounce around. Because I might play Cabrera at third, one of the kids at short. I don't know if I go with the other one at second base or not, but either Torres or maybe LeMahieu if he's healthy. And I'd resign Benintendi. Then I got the Benintendi, Bader, and Judge, by the way. And Judge has got to come back. If they don't sign Judge, it may not matter what they do here. Then get another pitcher, and we're good to go. But third base is a place that's got to get addressed as well. Folk started as a Cowboy. Folk's been around the league a lot. He's played with a lot of teams. Played with the Jets. Brightest bulb on the tree, sharpest tool in the shed. I don't know. Whatever, mixed metaphors. I did say sharpest tool in the shed, didn't I, at the end? Sharpest tool, the brightest bulb. Oh, mixed metaphors are part of my DNA. Justin Tucker's the best singing kicker of all time. I don't know about that, CA, but I'm not going to say he's not. You're probably right. What else we got going on here? I don't know. You guys throw a topic at me. We got about 4 minutes. We'll get ready to wrap it up. It's been you guys have been great again today with your comments, keeping me on my toes. Great coverage of college football, baseball. You got one topic you want to throw at me here to wrap up the show, we can do it. But I love your guys' input week in and week out. Bucks score again, 14-0. Look at TGI Sports Talk go. Tom Brady. I played Brady. Oh, did Brady throw the touchdown, by the way? Because I started him over Josh Allen today. I picked him up just to play him. Now I got to see. Maybe that's our topic here as we wrap it up. I got to find my fantasy team. Tom Brady, 11 points. 1 touchdown pass. All right, we'll take that for now. Oh, what else we got? All right, guys, we're going to call it a day. Guys have done a great job here today. I appreciate all of the input that you guys bring to this show. We'll see you next week at 8:30. Next Sunday, we'll be on Wednesday night with the College Football Huddle at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the Are You Serious show Friday at 8 a.m. So Keith Engel here. Enjoy NFL Sunday. Rick, maybe I'll see you at the recovery room today. And we'll be around if you need it. Have a great Sunday, guys. Bye-bye.